for those of you who are new to the ZALON, I know that there are a few new people here tonight. I just wanted to give a little bit of background. I started a salon in 1986 to carry on the European tradition of music in the home, to foster collaboration amongst artists, and to help build and nurture a vital and joyful community around music. I started this ZALON in April to continue the 33-year tradition online, connect our community far and wide, support artists, and to help keep the arts alive during a time when live performance is facing an uncertain time. The ZALON is based on the salon, gatherings in the home, which started as literary events and became popular in Italy and France in the 17th and 18th centuries, where the gatherings came to be known by the room in which they were held. The salon was the living room or the parlor. These events flourished in the 19th century with more musicians and artists. I was particularly interested in the salons of the early 20th century with Americans Gertrude Stein and Mabel Dodge, who invited many artists and disciplines. When I started my salon in 1986, I wanted to create a contemporary spin by featuring a wide array of artists working in a multitude of genres, as you'll hear tonight. The diverse programming creates a cross-fertilization of performers and audience members. Now, ending our third month of sheltering in place, this tradition of performance in the home takes on a new meaning. Artists are performing live from their homes for you as you receive their offerings in your homes. Even through the screen, I find a connection and a palpable intimacy in this. With so much happening around us, I now invite you to take a deep breath, to ground, to listen deeply, to see what stirs you, to see what resonates with you. There'll be questions for the artists in the chat box, and please consider supporting these wonderful artists via our webpage that we're calling the Performers Table. There you can purchase their recordings, learn more about their work, and find out how you can donate to them to support their artistry. The link is in my ZALON invitation. It will be periodically displayed in the chat. And if you need the link again after the ZALON, feel free to email me and I'll send it to you. But please know that it will be up for a week. So you can find it later on if you'd like to check out the performers and what their offerings are. I do encourage you to support the performers. So lastly, again, a huge shout out to Adam Vidixis, who's been doing an amazing job as lead engineer, and his fabulous volunteer tech team from Temple University, who are helping out with the Zoom stage production. There's a lot that goes on to make things run smoothly behind the scenes to effectively turn a conference room into a stage. So I want to acknowledge the time and expertise of engineers Adam Vidixis, Jonah Pfluger, and Andrew Litz. So let's give them some appreciation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first performer who's creating a bridge for the ZALON back to the 18th century salons. Rebecca Cypess is a professor and associate director of the Department of Music at Rutgers University. A musicologist and historical keyboardist, Rebecca is currently at work on a book titled Women and Musical Salons in the Enlightenment for the University of Chicago Press. Her performance and recording projects on this theme are presented with her ensemble, the Raritan Players. Rebecca will perform a short keyboard sonata preserved only in manuscript by the 18th century salon hostess and composer, Anne-Louise Brillon de Jouy. Donations for Rebecca's ensemble, the Raritan Players, can be sent via the links on the performers table. And Rebecca is also happy to receive inquiries about music performance practice and research. So let's welcome from her home in Highland Park, New Jersey, Rebecca Cypess.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for allowing me to join the ZALON, and Adam and your team for your technical help. The piece that I'll be playing is a two-movement sonata, as Andrea mentioned, by an 18th century woman named Anne-Louise Boyvin Brillon de Jouy, because the longer the name, the more impressive. She was also known in the 18th century as Madame Brillon. She was an aristocrat a hostess of one of the most glittering salons in Paris in the Age of Enlightenment, much like our own Madame Hostess. And in her salon, she made music by herself, singing and playing her multiple keyboard instruments, and also with her daughters and with a series of professional musicians, some of whom were regular visitors and some of whom were travelers who visited her home. Some of these professional musicians dedicated published compositions to her, including, for example, Luigi Boccherini. We have accounts of her salon from the music historian Charles Burney, as well as Benjamin Franklin, who was one of her closest friends when he was resident in Paris between 1777 and 85. Brillon and Franklin wrote hundreds of stories and letters to each other, and Franklin reported that he spent roughly 2 evenings a week in her home, hanging out with her friends, drinking tea, playing chess, and of course, listening to her music. We also know that he gave her a glass harmonica. Madame Brillon was also a composer. That's a role that few aristocratic women took on in the 18th century because it seemed immodest. It seemed to breach those conventions of modesty. And as a result, really, her compositions have never been published. They were not published during her lifetime. Very few of them have been published today. And as far as I know, only a couple of them have ever been recorded. However, her manuscripts all live in the American Philosophical Society Library in Philadelphia. And I've been privileged to record some of these works on this instrument. I'm not sure how well you can see it, given the technical limitations, but this is a copy, sorry, this is not a copy. This is an original 1780 English square piano, which is on very gracious, generous loan to me. And it's nearly identical to the instrument that Madame Brillon owned and played herself. So this sonata that I'll play now is one of the pieces on the forthcoming recording in the Salon of Madame Brillon. So thank you.
Recording
Hava.
awesome.
Everybody, this is Rebecca Cypess, and we have a wonderful question from Gerardo Rizumni. Gerardo wants to ask you, Rebecca, what are the specific characteristics of this instrument and what distinguishes it from a modern piano?
Great question. There are so many differences, it's hard to count. I mean, like the modern upright, this is really designed for the home. It's small enough to fit into a small space, which meant that it was accessible even to people in the emerging middle class in the 18th century. But it was also new enough and sort of technologically sophisticated enough to appeal to a wealthy aristocrat like Madame Brillon. I would say if I had to pick one difference that sort of makes or breaks the sound of these historical keyboard instruments, it's the lack of a big iron frame. Right? Modern pianos are manufactured with brass or iron frames, which allows for an overall increase in the tension on the instrument, which means that they can be very, very loud. They can be tuned to a very high pitch, and the whole thing is just sort of strung really high wired with lots and lots of tension. Historical pianos are really low on tension, which just changes the whole sound. I mean, I can pluck the lowest string with my hand, and I can see it wagging back and forth. It's just so sort of chill as an instrument. But the whole internal mechanism is really quite different, even from 18th century Viennese pianos or pianos from Berlin, for example.
Thank you so much. I have many other questions I'd love to ask you, but I think for the sake of time, we'll need to move on.
Of course.
But, Rebecca, you should look at the chat because people are giving you all kinds of wonderful responses, beautiful playing, and such passion and virtuosity. Brava. Thank you, Rebecca Cypess. We love having you. Our next performer is Benjamin P. Wenzelberg. He's a very gifted young artist. He's performed here in my living room. He is a vocalist, pianist, conductor, and composer. As U.S. Presidential Scholar in the Arts and a junior at Harvard University, he has made his conducting debut with the Boston Pops, has attended the Tanglewood Music Center, and directs the Harvard College Opera. He made his European composition and conducting debut at the Grafenegg Festival in Austria. Benji will perform two of his original art songs, Batter My Heart and Mutability, which he dedicates to the memory of Glen Roven. More about Benjamin Wenzelberg at the performers table. Let's give a shout out to multi-talented Benjamin P. Wenzelberg. Benji.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Clearfield and Adam and the entire tech team for making this whole thing possible. Also, Rebecca, that was so beautiful. Thank you for the chance to hear your playing in this amazing sonata. I'm really delighted to share with you guys two art songs, as Dr. Clearfield said, of mine, and I'll introduce them before I play each. But I think both of them really have helped me kind of understand my own and maybe our own as a society's kind of relationship with the world around us. The first is Batter My Heart, which are the first words of a poem by John Donne, which I have set here, John Donne being a metaphysical poet. There is so much here about sort of spiritual questioning, trying to become one with some kind of greater, in this case, God, but I think in our case as well, just with each other in this kind of collective and trying to find community in this time. It's very powerful to me. And I'll talk about mutability when I get there. But just a quick word about Batter My Heart. I'm really interested in poetry as well, and I love how Batter My Heart reflects a sort of strong, weak, weak, strong pattern. And so the entire piece is based on a little motif, which is like a heart beating. But as it kind of goes on, it's not always clear whether it's strong, weak, or weak, strong. So you'll kind of have to see as things fade in and out. Enjoy.
On the ground.
Divorce me, untie or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I exacting from ever shall I be free.
Wow.
Fabulous.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. Wow.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's so nice. This next
Unbelievable.
piece is, thank you. Oh, that's very, I appreciate it. This next piece is Mutability, which is a poem by Percy Shelley that I actually encountered in another Shelley's work, Mary Shelley of Frankenstein. This piece actually generated out of an idea that I had to do a cycle based on excerpts from Frankenstein in honor of its 200th anniversary in 2018. And I actually, for whatever reason, felt drawn to this poem, even though it wasn't Mary Shelley's original, because it just happened to be in her book and spoke to me as things sort of change and we move through life. And I think especially right now, of course, it takes on a new meaning of the only thing that can really change is change itself. That's sort of the mode and the idea of this poem. But this took on actually a whole nother meaning when I encountered quite a drastic change at the passing of a mentor and a good friend of mine, Glen Roven, who was an incredible composer and producer and educator and, as I said, mentor and friend, somebody that I found really inspirational, and it was really an honor to have known him. And Glen, being a composer himself and also somebody that was really interested in the future of the artistic world, would have been really intrigued by what was happening right now with venues like this and spaces like this. And also Glen was a really big art song composer and advocate of the art song tradition. So he would be really tickled that this kind of event in ZALON is happening. And I think that sometimes when I think about all these different things that we're facing, I return to this poem and I've found a lot of meaning in the musical setting that I've made of it. So I hope you enjoy this sort of atmospheric and ethereal tribute to a mentor of mine, Glen Roven, and something that I hope will give you some peace and, as Dr. Clearfield said really beautifully, grounding in this really unprecedented time.
Bravo! Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Incredible.
You are extraordinary. I mean, your voice, your piano playing, your composition, I'm sure you're conducting as well. We do have some questions for you, Benji, about your vocal range. Maybe you could address what your range is and what you would call yourself as far as your vocal fach.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. This is really nice just to get to connect with you guys through this music. So I'm a countertenor, but I sit quite high. So I have a chest voice that is approximately baritone range that I can also use if needed. But as a countertenor, I sing essentially in falsetto, or a sort of head voice equivalent for guys, and I sit pretty high, so I just sort of try and span the gamut of whatever I'm able to feasibly sing. And it's a lot of fun to also get to kind of write pieces that are art songs, because often the text sort of allows for a variety of different voice types, and kind of by hook or by crook, I never really intend for myself to necessarily be the one I'm writing for. But kind of no matter how things shake out, I'm usually find a way to sing most of the music that I write, and it's really nice to kind of connect with it in that way. So yeah,
I feel the same way as a composer. I sing everything, even if it's a violin part. It just feels so good to sing it, to feel it that way. I have a quick question for you, and that is, you do so many things like Leonard Bernstein. You know, how do you balance the different talents that you have, and is there something that you feel more strongly about, or you see yourself moving in that direction in the future?
Sure. Well, I think I'm sort of the mind that all of the different things that I love to do in music, and that I've been really fortunate to develop in music thanks to such wonderful mentors and teachers, all kind of feed each other and contribute to who I am collectively as an artist. I often see myself not necessarily as one thing with many other things kind of attached, but rather someone who really does try to pursue all of those things legitimately and sort of with that goal in mind. I do find that conducting is a really special amalgamation of the different things I love to do in music. And as I said, I'm also really fascinated with literature and languages. So I find that conducting really pulls all of those things together in a way that's very applied and very relevant moment by moment. And I find that very exciting and meaningful. So I guess that's sort of one thing, but at the same time, I'm my happiest and I feel my most creative self when I'm really keeping all of these things in play. And thankfully, I mean, if we can find a silver lining in all of this, I think it really is time for some wonderful self-reflection and working on ourselves. So I have plenty to practice.
Oh, what a beautiful response. Everybody, Benjamin P. Wenzelberg, please look out for him. He is just an extraordinary talent. And as you can see, really amazing person. So much depth there in your performance. And many people are writing to you. So you might want to check that out, Benji. Thank you for being with us virtually. And I hope to see you again very soon.
Likewise. Thank you.
So moving along in ZALON fashion to something completely different, but I used to say under one roof, now I can say on one screen. Our next performer, Tatyana Tenenbaum, is a choreographer and composer. Her work sits at the juncture of experimental music and dance and has been described as rich polyphony by The New Yorker. Her Jewish ancestors wove their voices into the tuneful stories of the Broadway stage. Tatyana's interdisciplinary work speaks within this lineage and has been commissioned and presented by many distinguished venues. I met Tatyana this February at Yaddo in Saratoga Springs, just before the pandemic, where we overlapped as artist fellows, and I was very taken by her work. It's her first experience with Salon ZALON, and I'm so pleased that she wanted to perform for you all today. So please check out her links at the performer's table, Tatyana Tenenbaum, and I'm going to turn things over to her, performing from you from East Flatbush, New York. Welcome, Tatyana.
I am seeing a message, but I don't know. Thank you, Andrea, for having me so much. It was amazing to meet you at Yaddo on my last night. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm gonna turn my reverb off for this. I would like to acknowledge where I'm sitting. I'm in East Flatbush, which is part of the broader Lenape-Hoking, the homeland of the Lenape people, and also the Canarsie people. And I would like to pay my respects to Lenape and Canarsie people, past, present, and future. So thank you. And I also want to acknowledge and speak the name of George Floyd, who died at the hands of police brutality in Minnesota, as everybody knows. So could be enough, 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 could be enough. Singing could be enough, could be enough. Through an opening could be enough, could be enough. Bathing in the angles could be enough, could be enough. To cleave a manifesto, big and fevered, could be enough. Like an open wound. Sigmund Freud. Sibilance and how to solve it. Sigmund Freud was a Jew. Assimilation and how to solve it. He thought his proximity to power would be enough. He thought his proximity to power would be enough. Once a Jew thought his proximity to power would be enough. Both my parents are therapists. The Connecticut is a river. The Connecticut river. The Connecticut is a river. The Connecticut river. The Connecticut river. Old Man River. The Connecticut river. The Connecticut is an Algonquin name for a river I grew up near. The Connecticut's going to overflow. The Connecticut's going to overflow. Sigmund Freud died in 1938. Overflow. He died of a broken heart, broken hearts, and how to solve them. Sibilance, assimilation. He thought his proximity to power would be enough. He thought his proximity to power would be enough. He was a Jew, 1938, Vienna, going to overflow. He wrote to a French diplomat. She had to haul him out of there by boat or by air. He thought a genocide of sibilance and how to solve it. He dreamed by the river. The Connecticut River would be enough. I dreamed a genocide of the imagination and how to solve it. Could be enough. 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 Derek. Could be enough. Could be enough. Derek. Could be enough. 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 Derek Chofkin. Chofkin. Could be enough. Derek Could be enough. Derek Chofkin. Derek Chofkin. Derek Chofkin. Derek Chofkin. Derek Chofkin. Derek Chofkin murdered George Floyd. Derek Chofkin had a mother. He believes he believes he believes he believes he is white. He believes he is white. Thank you.
Woo! Powerful, sister,
Wow.
powerful. Wow.
Fabulous.
Whew.
Writing in, I'm not sure where to start, but you're getting powerful. The complexity is amazing, touching, fantastic, heartbreaking, riveting, so beautiful. But I think that I will focus right now on one particular question, and that is, how do you create the kind of accompaniment that you create through the looping mechanism? I think people want to understand a little bit about what's going on technically.
Yeah, I just have a loop station. It's kind of a fancy one. Thank you for listening and being present with that material. Oops, still going. I have basically 5 channels, and I can record them separately, independently of each other. And I'm sorry, I don't know how to answer this question right now.
I think that's good. I think
Yeah.
you know, the idea is that you can express yourself in so many varied ways with your personal expression through this device, you know, which brings your voice forward and layers on top of itself to create a very moving and intimate connection with the words and with what you're trying to convey. I think it's extremely powerful. Many people also are so moved from the heart. One other quick question, that is, can you talk a little bit about the text?
Yeah, and I guess just hearing you say that, Andrea, I realized, like, I try to really use this minimally. So I treat all motifs, I try to whittle them down to almost gestures. So that, because often when I do work with a group, there will be multiple bodies in space, and I won't use this at all. So when I use this, I'm trying to almost create a sense of space with the parts. So it's not so much, they're like linear gestures layered on top of each other. And the text is, I didn't preface it at all, but I'm happy to chat with people after. It's based on sort of research into different thought lineages in my Jewish family, and I was researching Sigmund Freud while at Yaddo, where I met Andrea, and heard or just learned a heartbreaking story of his kind of denial of the Nazi regime, basically coming in to Vienna, to Austria, and like a denial so much that he really had to be pulled out of the country at the last minute by French diplomats, because he was at this point pretty famous. But part of what allowed him to think this way was that he was this assimilated to Viennese culture Jew. And so I'm looking into my own embodied relationship to whiteness and how we take for granted an identity inside of power structures. So I became interested in that. And I have a long history with relationships to phonemes and how they sit in my body. And so I kind of grabbed onto the S sound with assimilation and sibilance. And the Connecticut River text goes back many years, and it's something that really connects me to my diaphragm. I grew up near the Connecticut River, and I'm thinking about that as a colonial site as well. The name Connecticut comes from other peoples. So trying to bring in the sounds of different languages to create also a sense of space and time.
Thank you so much for that explanation. I probably will generate more questions, but in the interest of time, why don't you take a look at the chat, because I think there are some things that people would like to know. And thank you so much, Tatyana. You really added a level of depth that I think we're all feeling in some way, and you expressed it with such honesty and intimacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
I just want to add, I love your movements too, your gestures, your movements.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to some beautiful music by Johann Sebastian Bach, performed by pianist Terry Eder. Terry has performed in France, Italy, Germany, Canada, the US, China, and Singapore, as well as major halls in New York City. She's released 3 CDs, including a Bartok disc that was featured in Gramophone magazine. Terry is the founder and artistic director of Key Pianists, a concert series at Carnegie Hall. At her website on the performer's table, you may listen to and purchase her CDs and find out more about her performances. Terry and her husband, Eder-Kaufman, commissioned and produced my first opera performed in New York in 2019, and I'm forever grateful to both of them. Terry has performed numerous times at my salons, and it's wonderful to welcome her to the virtual stage. So let's welcome Terry Eder from her apartment, her house in New York City's West Village. Terry Eder. You need your mic. There we go.
I want to thank the whole salon audience for tuning in, and a special shout out to my family and friends who are listening and watching. Hello, everybody. So great to be playing for you. The selections that you will hear now are quite a contrast to what we've heard so far tonight. Bach wrote 48 pairs of pieces, a prelude and a fugue, in each major and minor key. He did that 24 times, and then he did it again. He wrote 2 books of these. And I'm going to play the very first 2, the very beginning of this whole journey that Bach set forth on, the C major and C minor from the first book. And these pieces to me represent a very calm beauty. And right now we can all use some calm beauty.
Bravo. Bravo. Oh, beautiful.
Appreciate your memory.
Magnificent. Bravo.
Terry, that was so beautiful. People have been writing in that it's a salve for their heart and a balm for their soul. And we don't have time for all of the questions that people are addressing, so you might want to check out the chat when you're finished. But if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit about your personal relationship to Bach. I know that you play a lot of Bartók. You're actually a specialist in Bartók, and your performance of Bach is just stunning. And I'm just wondering about your how you respond to Bach.
Thank you, Andrea.
And if you could move a little bit closer to the mic, we'd like to hear you. Thanks.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Can you hear me better? Okay. Well, Bach actually has not been a composer I've been very close to throughout my musical training and my career. I did study Bach, as every student does, very little actually. And only this year and during this winter and spring and these difficult times, I found that it's just a really great way to focus. And these pieces, while they may sound very straightforward and not too difficult, that is not at all true. They are very, very complex pieces. And I think of them almost like Shakespeare in music, because Bach's vocabulary was so great and so creative and so rich that I'm really having a great time working on many of these pieces, and it's a pleasure to get a chance to perform a couple of them.
Thank you so much, Terry.
Thank you.
That was a beautiful response and just a gorgeous performance. We're also very grateful. Terry Eder. Please do check out her website and her recordings on the performer's table. You can see I have my Bach up there too. Preludes and Fugues, a balm for the soul. So our next performer, Tally Seren, is a Philly-based Haitian-American singer-songwriter. Her music is a blend of Haitian folk and acoustic soul. Tally recently released a studio project entitled Soleil Midi, which is Haitian Creole for midday sun. This project is available on major platforms, and you can find the links on the performer's table. Tally has performed at my salon to the delight of many audiences, and I'm thrilled to welcome her back, this time to the virtual ZALON stage. Let's give our love to Tally.
Hi, thank you for having me. This time has been very interesting, getting myself to join this virtual music world. And like Andrea just said, I released an album in November entitled Soleil Midi, which means midday sun. And the whole concept is about finding the sun when times are so hard, not even the sun seems apparent. And this first one is one that's on it. It's actually my interpretation of a Haitian folk song. And literally translated, it's a woman speaking to her lover saying, you lied to me. You told me that if we were to move in together, we would be married. But here I am. I don't see a gown. I don't even see a slip. And, you know, of course, there's a proverbial lesson here. It's sung for anyone who breaks promises. And I've known it to be sung as protest music in Haiti. So just anytime a government offers promise for freedom, promise for protection and to serve you, and you find yourself receiving none of those things, this is what's sung to them. And I think it's especially apropos right now. I was at a protest earlier today for George Floyd, and so this is present. C'est pas ça ou te dis cousin ça ou te dit ou te dit mon ça couple c'est avec moi ou pas cousin ou c'est pas ça te dis moi cousin 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 c'est pas ça te dis moi ou te dis pour ça couple c'est avec moi non point non point j'ai bon non point non point j'ai bon attention viens mon corps qui te dans la croix qui sauve la vie attention viens mon corps qui te dans la croix qui sauve la vie no point no point j'y bon no point j'y bon attention bien mango qui était devant porte là qui sauve la vie grand-mère sauve mango qui était dans la gloire qui sauve la vie vient sauver 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 la vie oh cousin c'est pas ça ou te dis moi cousin c'est pas ça ou te dis moi cousin c'est pas ça ou te dis moi cousin c'est pas ça.
Nice. Beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Go tell it.
That was track 3 on the album. I like to be specific about that because you might not recognize the titles if you look it up after. This next one is track 4. This is an original, and I like to think of it as my my mission statement. It's called Keposé, which in Creole means calm heart, which would be our equivalent of peace of mind. And I like to think of it as, I like to think of my songs as prayers, you know, prayers for myself as a woman, as a Black woman, as a Black immigrant woman, as, you know, although like I wrote this as something very specific to me, it's, you know, something that is relatable to anyone because it's just my search for joy. And I pray for every member of my family in it. I say, so the hook is, take me to the mountain where love has permeated the air and made itself at home so that I may be free. Take me to where the ocean can wash my pain. I would like to be on the clouds and find peace of mind. And yeah, this is it. And hopefully, you know, you might not understand the words, but hopefully you get the feeling. Biti biti, to biti, pas fouti dîner. Tête chargée, tellement chargée, trop chargée même. Gros crainte, la paresse, toute femme, pas garder même, pas tellement exigeant si tout va l'équilibrer. C'est m'enlever en réponse pour dire qui est moyen la game sous tête molle. Côté l'amour, la école, pour me calibrer. Mais moi côté le mer, qu'elle avait tous les mers. La game sous tête molle, côté l'amour, la école, pour me calibrer. Ouais, les danser sous tête niage, yo. Quelle pose image, oh, 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 Kembe, na Kembe, mais ils vont point coup Kembe passé. Nous la mêlette pas de fête pour moi. Bon, moi, beauté, guérison, qu'elle m'a besoin. Pas tellement exigeant si tout va l'équilibrer. Seulement, voulez une réponse pour dire qu'on route la haie. On monte pour dire chérie, je vais l'arriver. Oh, maman, pour moi, clair. Ouh, la game sous tête monde. Côté l'amour, la école. From Calibe, mais de mon côté, la mer qu'elle avait tous les mois. Ouh, la game sous tête, mon côté, l'amour, Calibe, yeah. Ouais, les danser sous tête, yeah, yo, qu'elle pose ma joie. Oui, oh. Guérir maladie, papa, moi. Rendre justice pour frère, moi. Qu'à compte pour ça, moi. Et pour moi-même, tout ça m'a bien. Son petit good cœur posé. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, thank you.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have so many new fans out there. Everybody they're so moved, fine, delicate, determined, heartbreaking. We were all on sort of the edge with you, really with you. Your voice was just soaring, and there's some very interesting harmonies also in that last piece. You know, when I went to major, it was like the sun suddenly came out, and I think we all did that too. Yeah. And yeah, so please do check out Taylor's work. I think we're, just for the interest of time, I'll just ask one quick question of you. And I think the performers will stay on at the very end. So if we have time after the salon, we can ask more questions and get to know the performers a little better. But for now, can you just talk a little bit about how your music is influenced by your heritage, your Haitian music, and what elements have come from that? And
sure. Yeah. I like to think of my music as like a testament to the two cities that shaped me, because I very much grew up in Philadelphia, but I very much grew up in Port-au-Prince. And I think you can hear that in the way I sing. You can hear the Philadelphia in the way I sing, but the way I play guitar is very Haiti. Do a lot of finger picking. Haitians are very much finger pickers. Yeah, and I make it a point to write in Creole because it keeps, first of all, it keeps my Creole good because I lose a little bit of it every year that I'm here. But also just because it's just way more intimate and personal for me. And so the album is in Creole and it's in English. And while it is like world music, it was all Philly artists who came together to interpret what, you know, my Haitian sound is. And so what I've made is just this testament to Philly and Port-au-Prince, and those are my hearts, those two cities. And so I'm, yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful marriage, the way they've come together in a very unique and personal way. Thank you so much, Tally. It's just wonderful to have you back. Everybody, please do check out her new album, Soleil Midi, and that information is on the performer's table. One more applause, show of love for Tally. Tally Severn. Love you. We love you. Our next performer is in San Francisco, Peter Klein. He's the author of 2 collections of poetry. He currently teaches writing at Stanford University and the University of San Francisco. Peter will present poems from his new collection, Mirror Forms, from his home, and I will improvise on piano from my home here in Philadelphia. Peter and I met at the Marble House Project in 2016, a really wonderful artist residency in Dorset, Vermont, where we experimented with improvisational music to his remarkable poetry. We hope you enjoy this collaboration in the moment from East to West, USA. On the performer's table, you'll find links to purchase his books and learn more about his work. I'm delighted to welcome from San Francisco, Peter Klein.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thanks, Adam and the technical crew. Thanks so much to my fantastic fellow performers here, and of course to everybody for coming out tonight. So I'm going to be presenting a few poems from my new collection. The book is called Mirror Forms. The kind of central unifying feature of the book is the form of poem that I'm working in. It's a form that I invented. So all the poems are in that form, and it's a short form, just 8 lines, but the most prominent feature is that the first and last line are the same, so you'll be hearing that. And the specific poems that I'm going to be presenting here are all psalms, and so these are questions and prayers and even arguments sometimes with the divine, and a divine that I kind of yearn for and want to believe in, but can't quite get there. So there's a tentative quality to them, but a searching quality as well. So these are the Mirror Form Psalms. Since I'm not mine to keep, who is my true owner? Am I just one more goner, playing house from sleep to sleep? I have 2 stoops to sleep. One east, one west exposure. I'm tidying toward foreclosure, since I'm not mine. How can I be true when you keep vanishing? I get one verse to sing. Who do I sing it to? I've learned to look for you in the blur of ringing strings. could be anything, how can I be true? Is there a place for me deep in a secret pocket of your black leather jacket to pass eternity? I'm flexible as money, grim as a sugar packet, thin as a one-way ticket. Is there a place for me? I've turned the wrong way twice. Come, set my shoulders straight. Command my thighs to wait for the spurs of your advice. My voice, disgrace what Adam of me might wonder had left. I turned the wrong way twice. Lord, put your mark on me, though no one claims me first. Even Cain, accursed, had hard proof you could see his soul's reality. Alone on all the earth, he knew what he was worth. Lord, put your mark on me. Too much is not enough. Please let there be more. I've been a hungerer, however I've been stuffed. Your giving hand is rough. I bend to it. 2 sore lips are my true reward. Too much is not enough.
Amazing.
Wow. Awesome, Andy.
Thank you, Peter. That was we've only done this twice, and we never really ran the whole thing. So it's really very much a response in the moment to your words, which are, like you said, have so much questing and seeking questions involved, which leaves a lot of room for the music. That's what people have said. David Clowney says, "Wow, piercing poems. I can relate. Perhaps many here can." Thank you. Collaboration. Do we have any questions? Andrea, in preparation, did Peter recite the poetry for you, or did you just read his poems? I don't like to prepare too much for improvisation, so I printed them out so I could see them in case I couldn't hear so well from back there. Essentially, I read them once through when he sent them to me a few weeks ago. And then I waited until our rehearsal to respond, because his voice and the pacing and where he chooses to breathe and pause, all of it, the inflection of his voice is very much a part of the musical response, as well as the words. Peter, do you want to add to that in some way?
Your playing, I think, is the same for me. I mean, your playing leads me into the reading of the poem, so it was very much completely mutual in that respect. Yeah.
How does it feel for you to? I mean, you're probably used to doing readings solo. So how does it feel to have, the dance of the music?
I mean, it's in many ways, I think it's kind of ideal. I think of my poems so musically when I write them. The musical quality of the language is such an important aspect of my writing that to have the piano just kind of fill that out and take that in new directions. That's, yeah, just fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, the pleasure's mine.
We wanted to do this for 4 years and finally had a chance to try it out. You guys, each time, we did it, which wasn't very much, and we had a short rehearsal this week. It was completely different. So it felt good, at least from here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I look forward to collaborating with you again. Everyone, please do check out Peter Klein's book of poetry, Mirror Forms, that you can find links to purchase his books and learn more about his work at the performers table. We have 2 more performers for you this evening, and then make sure you have something ready for our virtual toast. Jessie De Silva is a singer, songwriter, and piano-wielding folk rock witch, currently living in Boston. Jessie's lyrically sophisticated songs explore issues of mental health, religion, queer love, and gender identity, offering listeners a candid look inside the hopes of connecting with their own experiences. Armed with a piano and a suitcase kick drum, Jessie will sing your feelings and enchant you with her musical storytelling. It is a great pleasure to introduce you to my friend and super talented performer, Jessie De Silva. I forget where you are, Jessie. You're performing from, where's your home?
I am in Boston now. I lived in Philly for many, many years, and Philly is still in some ways where my heart is, but I'm coming to you from Boston right now. So thank you for that introduction. I forgot to mention in the intro that I sent to you that all my music is available on major platforms, on Spotify and iTunes and anywhere else you can get music. So if you like what you hear, you can feel free to search for me, and you shall find me. So as Andrea mentioned, I write a lot about gender identity and my identity as a queer, non-binary person. And a lot of times the writing and the soul searching of that is difficult. So a while back, I wanted to write a piece. I wanted to find a way to recapture that time in early childhood before I knew that I was weird or different. That time before I knew that being different was not okay. So this song is called Queen of the Backyard. This song will be on an upcoming album that I'll hopefully be releasing if I can get back into the studio when the pandemic is over. So this is Queen of the Backyard. Tripping over tree trunks, running through the weeds. Dandelions sing to the fairies in the willow trees. Barefoot in the backyard, ruling like a queen. Holding court with the clover in the summer breeze. Travel the world in the space of a day. Music is a sound, not an ink blot on a printed page. A stick is a wand and a blanket is a cape. And weird is just a word, not a thing that brings you shame. Mighty is your joy, mighty is your joy. Blissful, unaware of the growing pain stings. Little girl, singing to the witch and the piano strings. So revel in the joy of the midday things. Caterpillar spells turn to butterfly wings. Back when the world was all sticky and sweet. The day was like a table laid for you to eat. Way back then your favorite color was green. Just a pixelated world through the lens of an old porch screen. With front row seats to the thunder and the rain. Back before you knew anything about pain. Mighty was your joy, mighty was your joy. Blissful, unaware the growing pain stings. Little girl boy, keep singing to the witch and the piano strings. I'm coming back for you. I'm coming back for you. I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back for you. I never really needed an invisible friend. The scratches and scrapes my mother's kisses could mend. Fumbling with flowers and singing to the stones. With nobody around to make me feel alone. Mighty was my joy, mighty was my joy. Blissful, unaware of the growing pain stings. Just a little girl boy, kept singing to the witch and the piano strings. Just a little girl boy, kept singing to the witch and the piano strings. Keep singing to the witch and the piano strings. Keep singing to the witch and the piano strings.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So next I'm going to sing thank you.
Just unmuted.
I'm going to sing a newer song that I hope to record for the next project as well. A while back, I was listening to this podcast called Unobscured, and the current season was talking about spiritualism movement in the 19th century, and the sort of rise of mediums and how people were trying to sort of connect to life after death in that way. And then sort of somewhat unrelated, I also watched the Pixar movie Coco, which is a beautiful movie about life after death and remembrance. And so this song is about loss, and it's about how we struggle to keep the people we lose with us. And I just want to take a moment to also acknowledge George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and Tony McDade, as well as all of the Black people whose lives have been stolen from them. I wish I had words. I'm trying to find words. I haven't been able to write those words in a way in song yet. But I did want to take the moment to acknowledge that. So this song is called Hover. Fly away to the warmth of the summer lands. Bid farewell to the steep well of night and its brutal plans. Travel safe in the arms of the whispering wind. Lay your pain in the dead of the earth with your little sins. Come and stay by my side when the cold moves in. Nights are long, and my mind's prone to wandering. With you gone so long, I've been clenched up and reticent. But you're fixed in my mind, and the memory's good kindling. Hover here a while in the space in between. Let me keep your smile. Time can be so damn mean. Memory is cruel, but it keeps you with me. Live in arms like fuel, keeps the past burning clean. Crying out to a God who stays silent. Placing roses on polished reminders in granite. Clasping hands around dining room tables for knocks in the dark. Squinting our eyes to see life after death leave a mark. Hover here a while in the space in between. Let me keep your smile. Time can be so damn mean. Memory is cruel, but it keeps you with me. Live in Maybe all of my time here on earth's just a drop in the sea. But I'd give all of the gold that I have to know you're still with me. Maybe all of these things are just tales to sleep better tonight. But remembering seems to be what keeps us all alive. Over here a while in the space in between. Let me keep your smile. Time can be so damn mean. Memory is cruel, but it keeps you with me. Living on like fuel keeps the past burning clean. Living on like fuel keeps the past burning clean.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you.
You have many fans out there.
It's amazing.
You have many fans. Mick Choder says it's his favorite new song. You know, it would be really nice if you could maybe put the lyrics in the chat for us.
Sure, we'll do.
So we could read them. You sound just wonderful. Many people were commenting on the beauty of your high range. Somebody suggested a duet with Benji. So maybe that's to come. You're both in Boston, right?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
We miss you in Philadelphia, Jesse. That was really just beautiful to have you and to hear you perform your own music.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Hang around and we'll talk a little bit at the end.
Great. Will do.
Thank you. Let's give our love to
Thank you.
Jesse. So last but certainly not least is a longtime salon performer who never ceases to wow and surprise the audience, my friend Paul Fako. Paul describes himself as a local mad maniac Martian musician and all-around loose cannon, a conductor, composer, percussionist, keyboardist who works in Europe as well as the US. He owns, lives in, and currently broadcasts daily COVID sequestration mini concerts from his Andre Cafe Acoustique in Chester, PA. And he does that live on Facebook. Tonight, however, Paul will be playing the pipe organ at Gloria Dei, Old Sweets Church in Philadelphia, where he is music director. He'll be performing a rhapsody by Louis Vierne on the well-known Westminster Carillon melody. For those who do not recognize that name, think of what the clock chimes often play on the hour and the quarter hour. Paul is in a very reverberant church, so it might be a little hard to hear him, harder to hear him than it would be in a dry space, but he can speak loudly. So I'm thrilled to welcome Paul Fako, multi-talented genius of a musician who will close our program with a performance on the organ at Old Sweets Church in Philadelphia. Paul.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
I need to know. Can you hear me?
Yes, all good.
Good. That's when I've been having trouble with that. I have the microphone close to me, so you should be able to hear me easily. I'm going to now take off my headphones and talk. I wanted to stay here behind the phone. Phones with rear and front cameras are great because I'm behind the camera and I can show you what the organ entirely looks like. You see where I play from, but you may as well see the whole instrument, which is that. Here at Gloria Dei Old Swedes Church, we have the finest small organ in Philadelphia, I think. 27 ranks, built in 1903 by Hooke and Hastings. French composers drew much inspiration from carillons. There are many carillon works throughout the ages. If some of you are familiar with of the film Liquid Sky from the 1980s. You will hear the music of Marin Marais, a piece written in 1710 called the Carillon of Saint Geneviève. Louis Vierne was the organist at Notre Dame Cathedral at the turn of the 20th century until about 1937, when he died quite spectacularly in the middle of his 1,750th concert. He fell on the keys and made a great noise. He went out with his boots on. Henry Willis was a very well-known, at that era, organ builder from London. So he was a friends of Vierne and Willis. They were friends. And Vierne decided to write a carillon based on the Westminster chimes. So here it is. I'm going to put the microphone back where it's better for the organ and less good for my voice, and then we shall begin. So give me a sec to just place the mic. You might hear a couple of clunks in that. And I hope you're still hearing me. Unmute audio.
Bravo! 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 That was wonderful. Bravo! Bravo!
The grand finale.
Wow.
We could never do that here, Paul. That was thrilling. Magnifique. Thank you so much. We didn't even know if this was going to work. We were curious to see whether the internet was good enough and whether he could get the signal there in the church. I think it was just extraordinary, powerful, and what a stellar end to this very soulful evening. So thank you so much, Paul. I'm going to ask the performers to stay on at the end so that we can continue to talk and ask questions and get to know them a little bit better. But for now, I'd just like to thank everybody for joining us tonight as we celebrate the arts and our humanity, so much needed during this time. Please make sure to check out the performers table and remember that it will be up for a week so that you can see how you can support these extraordinary artists. There will be a public live stream, public rebroadcast of tonight's program next Sunday, June 7th at 2 p.m. so our friends in Europe can watch. So feel free to invite anybody you like to watch the public rebroadcast that will take place on the performers table. Performers, I'm incredibly grateful and moved by your compassion, your passion, your sensitivity, your intelligence, your depth, and your courage. Engineers, Adam Vidixis, Jonah Pfluger, Andrew Litz, thank you for your time and helping things run smoothly behind the scenes. Let's show our appreciation to all the performers and the engineers by giving one more round of applause and lots of love.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope Paul doesn't have to sleep in the church.
Right, they were worried about the curfew, Paul, that we're going to not be able to get home. So let's all get our glasses out. We're going to have a virtual toast.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't
here. Pouring the wine. Everybody have your glasses, your bottles, whatever your drink of choice. Let's toast to health, to peace, to arts, to community, to understanding. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers and amen.
Cheers.
Cheers. Blessing.
May we all be safe.